little bit on the Tech game. Obviously our defense was really good. Offensively, we managed and played synchronized football, I guess I should say, with special teams, offense and defense, and so we're able to get out of Tech with a win and put ourselves in a really good position. And so we're back to work like every other week. We practiced last night and players are off today. A little different this week, no school, and schedules change based on Thanksgiving, but other than that, it's a typical game week for us, and moving forward with the game plan and getting ready for Oklahoma.
What challenges does Caleb Williams present for your team?
Yeah, he's a special talent. He can run around and throw the ball. He's kind of like Nolan Ryan in football. He can fire it down the field from about any release. He's very agile and elusive, faster than what he looks because he takes big strides. And he's willing to just chunk it down the field and try to make plays. So he's very athletic. We faced some quarterbacks that have similar qualities this year. I'm not sure they all have the same package that he has at once, but we faced some guys that move around well in the pocket, can throw it and get out and cause some problems, and that's what he's done.
And does Williams remind you of any previous OU quarterbacks you played, like Murray or Ertz?
Not really. I mean, Mayfield was, obviously not as good a runner, and, he's a 6'1" guy, and Kyler was a fantastic runner, and he was a shorter guy. I mean, I don't really think that any of those guys fit like the mold that he's from.
Do you have the advantage, Mike, catching him with a little more film? Texas, when he first on the scene, had no idea in terms of specifics, and he sort of just freelanced for half and was just dynamic. Baylor and Iowa State the last 2 weeks defended him like they sort of had a pretty good idea of how to get him off schedule. Does that play into your hands?
So anytime you have video, I think it helps. I don't spend as much time in the defensive room, so I would think what would be their perspective when I listen to them. At times it can be difficult to defend a player that you haven't seen much based on all the different areas that defensive coaches across the country break down to try to find what deficiencies certain players and or quarterbacks have. So we have some video. It's interesting with him. The general public and the fans that watch the game can see what his strengths are. You don't really have to be involved in the integral part of coaching to know what he does, which is he's tough to get on the ground. He can avoid, make people miss, and he can take off and score. That's what he can do. He's proven that. And then he has a really strong arm. So with him, it's a little different, and you can kind of see what you get.
Hey, Mike, by extension, his part in the run game and then their run game more overall, what do you make of it at this point, and what's the challenge in defending their run game?
Well, they're averaging over 5 yards a carry, so they're. I would consider that successful if that was us. Obviously, I don't know what they would consider as successful for them, but they still rush the ball. They have speed at the skill positions, like always. Their running backs, their wide receivers, and quarterbacks, both of them, are fast. And so when you have as many fast players on the field as they put on there, then it gives them a chance to move the ball effectively. And rushing the ball, they still run the football.
You like the way your defensive front sets up against them in the run game? I mean, you've liked your defensive front all year.
Yeah, we've been really good on defense, and I would have confidence that our guys will come up with a good plan and play hard. I don't know that motivation will, from a coaching standpoint, is going to be an issue Saturday night. So they're very good schemers. They know what they're doing. Their coaching staff can scheme. They understand. They get it. And I think Jim and our staff are pretty good at it, and they know what they're doing. So the players will fight it out on the field, and X's and O's with the coaches. How much of a factor that'll play? Some. But ultimately, it'll be in the players' hands and the way they perform and execute based on the blueprints that we've given our guys and or OU's given their players.
Mike, on the defensive front, you've got a lot of Okies on there. You've got a lot of kids from in-state. And Jenny and I talked about, he doesn't think that they're underrated, but there's a sense of pride there. There's a sense of pride for you. You go find these in-state kids, and they've turned out so well up front for you.
We're going on 5, 6 years, 7 years of having tremendous success, maybe longer than that. The years go pretty quick for me now with local, in-state players that are within a 2-3 hour drive. And, they grow up and they recognize Oklahoma State football. Large majority of them were not recruited, very under-recruited. They come here. It's important to them. They've got something to them. They're humble. They work hard. They're loyal to the organization, and they play good for us.
Mike, the pretty good year for the Big 12 after what you went through in the summer in terms of the 8 schools remaining. You and Baylor, if you take care of business, you're in the Big 12 title game. Cincinnati and Brigham Young are in the top 12 or 13. Does what we've seen this fall sort of project well for the future of the Big 12?
One thing that I said when this started back whenever August, I guess, that I thought that, I guess the first thing I said was I knew Oklahoma State would be okay. Beyond that, I didn't have any idea because I didn't know what direction it would go with realignment, conferences, and different things. Then we brought the other 4 teams in, and I used the term that we really hit a home run back then, and I wasn't sure everybody agreed with me, but I think Houston's 9 or 10-1. I mean, Dana's doing really good this year. Central Florida's the one everybody's going to have to worry about. Population of 70,000 students, and they're sitting within a 3 or 4 hour drive of over 250 Division I players. And now they have a Big 12 logo on their shirts when they go walking in those high schools. So they're going to be an issue once they get going down there, in my opinion. BYU's BYU, we know that. And then Cincinnati could be they could very easily be in the top 4 right now tomorrow night, whenever the meeting we talk about. And I'm sure we'll move up 2 spots. But they could very well be they could move into that group, in my opinion, and they're in a large populated area. But to answer your question, I don't think it could have gone any better for what we all thought was pretty doom and gloom back when all this took place.
Mike, I know you don't make any predictions on a Monday, but do you anticipate the offense being any more healthy this weekend?
We're going to try to get guys out tomorrow, like always, and it's just hard for me to say. I thought 80 would play some, and he didn't feel good. 72 got out and did some stuff. I didn't think he would get on the field at all, and he did get on the field. So we're going to try to get as many of them ready as we can. 7 couldn't do much. Honestly, if you had asked me and said I had to give you an answer, I would have said yes. I would have been wrong again. So we just have to kind of wade our way through it and figure it out in the middle of the week.
Does their pass rush concern you at all just because of the kind of injuries you have up front on the offensive line?
Well, they have a good pass rush anyway. I mean, they're active up front. There's a perception out there with certain teams every year, and if there's not overwhelming wins, then people get a taste in their mouth, maybe not as good as what they would want it to be. But they've still played really well on defense, and they're very active up front. They're good pass rushers, 11 and 95 and 94, and then their backers move and they're fast, and they've played good. They're playing a lot more. I don't know the percentage, playing more man this year. Obviously, it tells you that they feel good about their rush up front. So both sides of the ball, the physical ability for both teams on both sides of the ball up front will be an important part of this game.
The possibility exists for you two to have to turn around and play next week. Does that change anything you guys do this week in terms of your preparation, game planning, any of that? You've never faced this before. Does it affect you in any way this week?
No. So, we had to think about that. I guess I did. I had to think about that. But so the decision that we made is just completely consider the championship game irrelevant and a bonus. And we're playing this game like it wasn't even there, like years ago. when we didn't have a championship game. So our approach as a staff with our team is that we're playing this game like the other games is non-existent. That's just a decision that we and or I made. When I put myself in the player's shoes, I think that's what they want. I didn't ask them, but I think that's what they would want. So we're business as usual. We're not changing anything this week other than our schedule a little bit because of Thanksgiving.
Talking about your offensive line, their health, and then OU's pass rush, or just their push up front, would lead you to believe Spencer's going to have to continue to make really good decisions. When you think about his evolution, you talked before the season about how you thought he was really taking some big strides. But what have you been most impressed by with him and how he's handled things here, especially the last month or 6 weeks?
When we've protected him decent and we've been able to rush the ball some, I mean, his decision making's been good. I think that would be consistent pretty much every quarterback at any level, high school, college, NFL. We're all aware of what causes issues with quarterbacks is when they're under duress. Their biological clock's going faster, their feet aren't set, their body position is not as athletic as it should be. So when he's been in that position, he's not played as well. When he's been in a position where we've protected him better, and it doesn't have to be perfect all the time, and that we've been able to have run schemes that allow us to rush the ball effectively, then his decision-making, his throws, his performance has been better. And we've seen that over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks with him.
Mike, overall, though, even when things have broke down with Spencer, and I thought Saturday I saw one play where I'm like, oh, man, shouldn't have thrown that. Other than that, I didn't shake my head. But his legs, how valuable has his ability to tuck the ball? He had one really big scramble against Tech that moved the chains and kept, I think it was a scoring drive. How valuable has he been as an athlete?
So it's in my opinion, it's pretty much every quarterback that plays at this level. So I said this early in the year, I said it in the middle of the year, and I don't know who's picked up on it, but the difference in college football now over the last few years is more three-man front defenses and preventative defense on first down. But the second thing is the trickle-down effect of the athleticism of defensive guys that are rushing the quarterback at this level has turned into the NFL. So the days of Jim Plunkett just sitting there and finding somewhere to throw that he can't move, and I'm just going off watching old film. I mean, I don't know. Billy Kilmer might have been a better one, okay? Those days are going to be hard now because the athletic pass rush of not just Oklahoma or Oklahoma State, but pretty much everybody. If you don't move around a little bit, it's going to be difficult, in my opinion. So the teams that are still left in this league for the conference championship game are 3, correct? All 3 of those teams have quarterbacks that can move. The other team that was close in the race was Iowa State, and their quarterback is elusive and runs better than you think. And then I guess the next one would be Kansas State, right? They were up there or whatever. I don't know. I don't keep track of it, but they have athletic quarterbacks. TCU's quarterback's athletic. Texas Tech, the young man we played a couple nights ago, is very athletic. So to answer your question, I think it's going to be difficult to play quarterback at this level successfully if you can't move around and avoid and do a few things with your legs because of the athleticism on the fronts.
But in determining whether Spencer is tucking the ball when he should or not, because remember, that was a big emphasis with him, to get him to look downfield, pay attention, and complete the throws. Have you had any complaints about whether he's not followed that, tucked the ball too soon, or is he doing it pretty well correctly?
There's two things on that. The first thing is, unfortunately, there's some of that's not coached much. That's just, you're born with that, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Secondly, the percentage of it that you are coaching into those guys, he's done very well. But when you're standing back at 7.5 or 8 yards deep, and there's 4 or 5 guys that are coming full speed at you, it's not an easy situation to be in. And then when you try to get away and you're running for your life and then trying to decide where to run or throw, you're talking about decisions that are made within a second or two. And it takes experience to learn how to make quality decisions, in my opinion. And he's getting better at that throughout his career.
Do you think he's had with the defense? I mean, Casey's talked for a couple years since they kind of hit a stride. The defense hit a stride. Casey's talked about, just take care of business and let the defense work. Do you think that has seeped into Spencer's decision making too? That he really recognizes what this defense is capable of?
I would have to say no. I think he's trying to score every play, to be honest with you. It does for me when I'm communicating on the headphones, but I have not asked him that. And he's been very efficient in things that we're discussing right now. But I don't know that that's crossed his mind.
Follow up to that, Mike. You said this year more than once, sometimes it's okay to punt. 3rd and 12, run the ball, protect the ball. In the game, flip the field, let our defense carry the load. Is there any reason that philosophy should change at all against a team like Oklahoma, where you may give the ball to a kid like Caleb Williams? Or
I think you have to let the flow of the game go. In fact, that's what we would do. Obviously, I'm going to make that decision. And so I need to see the ebb and flow of the game and how things are going and how's our defense playing. How are we rushing the football? How's the quarterback's decision making? Same thing for them. How are they playing on that side of the ball? Their decision making, where are they at? And I think you let the game go and you see what happens before, my opinion, before you make a bold statement or something you're going to do that would go against something that would be normal statistically in a decision making process.
There's a sentiment that you've been pretty cautious just against Oklahoma through the years. Is that fair?
No. We've been more open than we have been. Sometimes we've been cautious if we don't feel like we can execute certain things, if we feel like it's going to create negative plays. Negative plays on the offensive side of the ball are not good. You hear people say stay on the chains. So that's not now if they've had teams that were overpowering to us and we couldn't function, it may look that way. But if you just think about, last year when we played them in the second half, I think we had 3 freshman linemen playing. And they had pretty good pass rush last year, this year, pretty good pass rush. So it may look conservative, but it didn't do us or me or the team any good to put them in a situation where they're working down the field pass routes that are 2.8 to 3.3 to throw, and somebody's in the backfield at 1.7. It just didn't make any sense. So our approach to every game has probably been more wide open against them than would it be a normal opponent during my time here as a head coach. There's like the Bradford year, Sam Bradford was here and they were scoring all those points. We went empty almost the whole game. We never went empty. We were just trying to manufacture. We ended up scoring about 38 points, I think. So, no, it's not been that way. But we also, unfortunately, at times, try to work with the ebb and flow of the game and manage the best we can.
Who should be the all Big 12 quarterback?
Oh, gosh, I hadn't even thought about that. I don't know.
I have thought about it, and I
don't know. And it's funny you mention that. I can give you some good stuff because you guys drive in cars and think about this stuff all the time like I do. So who's really the 5th best team in the country and who's the 15th best team in the country? You could switch them and nobody really care. That's been that way pretty much all this year. It's been pretty cool, in my opinion. We're all in agreement that it'd be interesting what they do, because you keep bringing this up there. It's going to be interesting what they do at number 2 this week, in my opinion, based on what happened Saturday, scores-wise. So I don't know who's going to win the Heisman.
Well, I think the Ohio State guy, if they beat Michigan.
Right, but up until a week ago, I mean, nobody really knew, right? Usually when we get into week 10, we all know who's won the Heisman because they start doing the advertisements on ESPN, and that's the one they're showing all the time. They're not just showing him because they're showing him because he's going to win the Heisman, and it's marketing. So if you watch it, you haven't seen that yet. That's because nobody knows who's going to win it.
Who's going to make number 2?
Number 2 in the country, I voted Ohio State.
All right. If you win this game, next week you got one game left. Either way, you got one game left. But if you win this game, you're still in the hunt for the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
One game left. You didn't politic 10 years ago. Are you going to politic some publicly?
Not really. It just goes against my nature. The culture that we've tried to create with our players is not that, and so I don't feel like that me being the guy in charge that I can do that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody will listen to me. I really don't think they will. I'm not. That's nothing against anybody. I'm not against anybody on the committee. I don't even know who's on the committee. But I don't think they're going to concern themselves with me telling them how good we are. That's just my opinion.
Do you think it's better to be dominant defensively or offensively to the press committee?
Defensively.
In 2011, you were depending on computers.
Mm-hmm.
This time you have a committee.
Well, there was 2 back then too. We would have been in 2011.
Yeah. Well, what do you prefer, committee or computers?
Boy, I mean, if I was up here running for governor, I'd hate to say anything to make the committee mad right now. I mean, I'd have to agree with if somebody asked me about immigration or abortion or taxes, I'd start talking about how nice the state looks in the summer. Yeah, I did. See, it went right away from that. But and the reason I will avoid that because I don't know who they'll vote. I don't. Let's put it this way: I don't think anybody's just taking it over. So, but here's what I'd say: we have
coaches on the committee,
right? And I don't want to. But humans are partial, right? I mean, forever. At some point, when the people here get tired of me and run me off and bring a new coach in, and I'll be watching a game somewhere, I'll be hoping OSU wins. I mean, so that's going to always be me. But the thing one thing that I've said that I think is very important, everybody understands, is college football has a really, really, really good thing going right now. Everybody's watching all the games. And so we got to be careful if we don't alter that. Before the season, we all agreed to sign up to the 14 playoff. And that playoff is chosen by the committee. So in my opinion, I'm buying into the committee the way it is because we signed up for that. And until they change it, if we want to partake and be a part of it, then I think that we stay the course. So I would say what we're doing right now is pretty good. Is it perfect? No. Can they fix it? Sure. They go to an 18 playoff. That fixes it. That's it. You will never hear any more issues. That would fix it.
One other Gundyism.
What's that?
You've talked about freshman players.
Mm-hmm.
You worry about whether they hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you worry about their lack of experience. But in Lubbock on Saturday night, obviously Colin Oliver was making plays and helping out on defense. And then you had John Paul Richardson play a step-up role. The Greens are playing a step-up role. How do you feel about that many freshmen having a big impact on your team right now?
I'm not real comfortable with it. We had 5 freshmen playing at once out there on offense Friday night or Saturday night. So it's not the most comforting feeling, but JP's had a lot of reps in practice, but he hasn't had the mental and physical strain in games. So he's doing okay. The Greens have had more of that, and it beats up on them a little bit. 85 has, he's had not as many game reps, but a lot of practice reps. So we've got some guys that have gone through it, but we're in a better position than we have in the past. And Colin Oliver's a different guy because I don't know how he's holding up the way he is, but it's not bothering him at all. I mean, he's playing as hard now as he was from day one, and it's pretty amazing at his age, with his inexperience, to compete like he is with a lot of reps. But they do rotate through a lot on defense, which helps him.
Did you see the play he made defensively? It was an intuitive play when he got Donovan Smith on a scramble.
Back in.
You see,
I think
that's not a common freshman.
Joe Wobb and Greg Richmond did a good job of coaching him on that. It's a nice job coaching him. Seeing up the field out of his eye, turn back, dive, and catch him right there. It's good coaching.
You're throwing more to Blaine Green, and was this just because Brandon was out, and John Paul's, just because the guys are out injured, you're just more comfortable? I mean, you say you're not necessarily comfortable playing, but they're playing more. Is that because of necessity, or you just feel like you're ready?
Well, I'm never comfortable with freshmen being on the field because they don't play like veterans because of several reasons. I mean, that's proven. But we don't have that luxury right now in offense. We're going to be playing a lot of young players. That's just the way it is. Now, the good news is they've been practicing for 3 months, so that helps. There's just different things we can do with him throwing the ball than we can the other guys. In certain positions, he can be more of a slot. He can do some blocking. He can loop around and block. He can release in the middle of the field, release in the flat. There's other things we can do with him based on him being 218 pounds.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Has it crossed your mind at all that this could be the last Bedlam here at Stillwater for a while?
Somebody asked me that yesterday. I don't remember who it was, but I would say it is. I don't know, but just hearing what you guys hear, I would say it probably is the last one. Okay.
Last week, I know you had said Logan Carter was at about 80%. How did you feel? I know he had the catch to start the game. He had some blocking. How did you feel that he was at after the last game?
Oh, he's beat up. He's managed. He's playing, but he's not full speed. I mean, it's not a secret. Anybody can watch the game, watch the TV. Our opponents can. They can see that. He's still productive in certain things, but he's not remotely where he was last year. Not right now.
Sorry. I also wanted to ask, I know there was a lot of talk today with people saying that Malcolm should have been a finalist for the Buckus Award. What was your reaction to that? And then also, how did you feel about how Malcolm reacted, saying, it was more about his family and what the fans think of him than just the accolade?
Right. I don't think there's any question if you would look at his how much he's produced and what he's done and look at his numbers and just watch him on video, that he would have been there. He should be there. I mean, but, I don't know who votes on that, but he's a pretty productive player.
In a way, is the best award for your defense this year Jim Knowles winning the Broyles Award? In a way. I mean, you just talked about coaching Colin Oliver.
I don't know. When do they announce that? I don't even know when that is.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I mean, I would think he would be a pretty good candidate. I don't know who else is out there or whatever. I mean, I hadn't paid attention, but I'd think he'd be up there pretty high.
Don't you think if he wins that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a staff award. Yes.
And the kids too.
That's right. It's a staff blueprint, and the players that are out there working. That's where that award comes from. So.
They kind of jumped on you early. Thinking back to last year, obviously a different offense, but kind of what went into that, and how do you avoid that on Saturday?
They hit some big plays early. There could have been some things scheme-wise we could have done better. I'm sure that Jim would tell you that. And then the players, they're going to practice hard and they're going to pour into their game plan this week, and I'm sure they'll be motivated to play at a very high level Saturday night. So I don't think it will really factor in with them, other than sometimes the games happen. I don't know. I don't really have an answer. I mean, to be honest with you, if I did, I would not do it again. If I did, I just don't always know what that cause is. You look at your schemes and your thoughts and your concepts, and then try to go from there from a coach's standpoint is the best way to start.
Speaking back to Blaine Green, with injuries, you kind of use him as a cowboy back a little bit. Do you expect, could that be a long-term thing for him? You mentioned his size earlier.
I think it depends on how big he gets. He's 218 pounds right now, so I mean, if he gets to 230 pounds, I would say that he would be playing inside a lot. Kind of like Tracy Moore. You probably don't know who Tracy Moore is. You're too young. You remember Tracy Moore? He's a lot like that. So there's some things we could do with him inside.
Back to Knowles for a second. He's embraced that mad scientist vibe, and he's got this crazy process. What kind of stands out to you about his process as he prepares?
Well, I mean, I don't know. He goes in there and closes his door. I don't ever see him. I mean, I see him on Sunday morning. I see him Sunday night at practice, and then I don't see him again until Tuesday. So I don't know what he does. But, I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I just stay out of there and let him do what he does. I don't very seldom ever say a word to him. So, and honestly, I don't know because he closes his door. I don't know what he does in there. Could be watching cartoons for all I know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he does in there. He comes out Tuesday and I see him in the staff meeting. Then I don't see a lot of him Tuesday and I see him at practice. So.
How much time do you spend on the defensive channel during games?
I'm on there the whole time the defense is on the field, pretty much.
2011 in the offense that you had going into that game, what kind of confidence does it give the group of guys knowing you've got sort of a distinct advantage in one of those on one side of the ball?
One thing that this team has is confidence. They have confidence in themselves as a group. They've played with a lot of confidence. And some of that was motivated or accomplished through early in the season when we barely won against what people would think we should have played better and won better. And so they've kind of built confidence and gotten some guys healthy. We know that. I don't want to get into all that. But so if you're successful in anything we do in life, forget football, it won't make a difference what it is, then you have confidence. And when you have offenses like we had back then that are scoring 50 points a game, obviously you have a lot of confidence going in the game that you're going to play really well. And the same things on the defensive side. And confidence is the most important thing in any team sport, in my opinion, or an individual. And so I think our team has a lot of confidence right now. I don't know how we would compare one or the other. I just think as an organization we have a lot of confidence at this time.
Sorry, go ahead.
We talked so much about injured players today, and considering the implications of Bedlam, is this a game where you're more likely to give kids the green light that kind of might be on the fence of whether they can play or not?
The green light is a decision they make based on them telling us, I'm ready, I can play. So I don't have any idea of what a pain tolerance level is with 3 or 4 of the guys that are trying to play right now. If they had an injury that prevented them from playing and our doctor says we don't want them out there, then it's a non-factor. But other than that, they have to tell us, I can play. When they tell us that they can play, then we work them in and we put them out there.
Early in the season, I know you talked about Casey Dunn, how he had patience with the young guys on the offense as they were getting involved. Just what do you think of what Coach Dunn has been able to do with managing this offense and its growth throughout the season?
Well, statistically, nobody's going to like it. I'm guessing that people aren't happy with points and scoring and production and whatever. But he's in his second year here, and we had some issues last year, and if we didn't have issues, I'd tell you we didn't have issues. This year we had issues for first 3 or 4 games that were somewhat unfair, but it is what it is. And then we went 3 or 4 weeks where all of our skill guys practiced and our O-line stayed consistent. And so we started to put together some numbers that looked more like what we have here in the past. So my job is to evaluate things based on what I know for a fact are, not what people or statistics might say. So that staff has done a great job, okay? Not just a good job, they've done a great job in manufacturing enough ways to get yards, time of possession, and points to allow our defense to play fantastic and special teams to play really good to win games. So, see, this last game we played was the first game where really they played better on special teams than we did because their punter changed the field like 6 times. Now, we played good, but he was booming punts from the 15 down to our 15 and changed the field so much. So they really had the advantage in special teams in this game because of that. So to answer your question, with what he's doing, working with the defense and our special teams, is I'm happy with.
Speaking to that, the term complementary football has been used to describe you guys quite a bit. What do you make of that term? That's not something they described to you whenever you're scoring 60 a game back in the day.
So years ago, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, we took 4 scholarships away from the offense and put them on defense because everybody was scoring 50 points in a game in this league. Not everybody, but most of the teams were. So I thought if we don't at least try to beef up our defense, even if we win this league and we get out of this league and get into this playoff system, we're going to have to play better defensively if we're going to win. And so when we made that transition, it was to play a little bit more synchronized football, complementary football, which is what we've done this year. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, there's times that we've chilled out to kick a field goal to make sure that we extend the game from a 2 to 3 score game. We never would have done that in the past. But I guess not me. I've made those decisions, unlike in the past.
As near as I can tell, this is your 31st Bedlam you've either played or coached in. As an outsider, we see implications that are big for you, that are big for OU. But from your perspective, does this feel like a bigger Bedlam, or is this for you as somebody?
Me individually?
Yeah, for somebody.
I think if yes, it does, because we've had a great year, so you'd like to keep that going. You don't. Where we are right now as a team, it's difficult to get in that position. There's only how many teams left in the country that are even in this position. So it's difficult to get there. So when you get there, you would like to at least perform at the highest level you can moving forward to continue with what are special seasons. I mean, I think that's just a fact. Some people might downplay it and say no, but I don't really believe that. I think that's I'm kind of speaking for the players. I get that vibe from them. So I think that the environment, the atmosphere, the electric feel, for lack of a better term, Saturday night. We play Saturday night, I think. I just want to make sure. I don't know. Saturday night will be a big time feel. And we've had that in some of these games. In 30, I didn't know I'd played in 30 of them, but I probably can't remember 20 of them. But some of them have felt different than the others. Like, I go back, I can remember the Bradford year. We won down there one time when we were big underdogs. It really didn't feel that way in warm-up. I don't think people really gave us much of a chance. But we've had a number of games there and here where you had a real electric feel in warm-up, and you had that kind of what you're talking about, which is pretty cool.
You said Mike a minute ago that if you're guessing this would be the last Bedlam in Stillwater.
Mm-hmm.
You pessimistic that the series is going to continue after they go to the SEC?
I don't think it will. I just don't think there's a business side of it that I don't make that decision. I guess Dr. Schrum and Chad Weiberg, they could do whatever they wanted, or the board. I don't know who's involved in this. I don't think it's a realistic thing that it's going to happen based on the business side of Power 5 conference football in the Big 12 or the SEC. That's just my opinion on it. I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm not getting that from anybody. I'm just answering the question you asked me.
How would you feel about that?
Well, when you look at the business side of it, we play. I don't even know what they'll do. We're going to 12 teams, right? We're going to have 12 teams in, so you're going to have divisions now. That would be. Let's think about this: 6 and 6. So you would play. Did we used to do 5 and 3?
Yeah.
Right, because we're scheduled out, and you guys can help me on this, through 32 or something. We're scheduled out way longer than probably I'll ever. They'll keep me around here. So your financial commitments to buyouts and payouts are at a all-time high now. And then if we go back to playing 5 and crossing over, I would think that we would end up with, it would be, I bet somehow they'd find a way to play 9 games. So that's just me. I'm just talking about television money, right? That's what the television's paying for. So let's just say we're playing 9. So we have our 3 non-conferences scheduled. The SEC, in my opinion, from what I've heard, is going to go to 9 also. And so if they have their 3, then you would have to buy out and pay off teams to start with. And then secondly, you would have to be willing, as a Power 5 conference school that's playing 9 conference games, to play we all play another. Like, I think we play Arizona State next year. Don't we play them next year? Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So that's 10 Power 5 conference. So if you're going to go back into this game, you would be willing to play 11 out of a 12-game season, which would be extremely difficult. And from a business standpoint, we all know this: the more success and games you win in football is a huge revenue avenue for your athletic department and your university, because the more you win in football, enrollment goes up. That's a fact. Marketing money goes up. There's a huge amount of money involved in that. So you would say, if we were running a company and you're in a business standpoint, somebody would have to make a decision. Do you want to risk some of that? And how many other teams across the country that are competing to get in the Final Four are willing to play 11 conference games and only have 1 non-conference, based on the amount of money that could be sitting there at the end? Whether you like it or not, I'm guessing that's what's going to take place. Now, have I been in those discussions? No, because in fact, that was a lot of big words for me just in a short amount of time. But that would be my guess. But I'm going to do what Dr. Shrum tells me to do, and I'm going to do what Chad Weiberg tells me to do. And then I go on down the road.
What's that like, just kind of thinking about the biggest rival that you all have had for years not being a factor anymore? Could you see a different team on the rise, maybe becoming a big conference rival?
Well, Barry can tell you that I'm a traditionalist, and I didn't like any of it. I didn't like when the Big 12 broke up, whenever that was, and Missouri and Nebraska headed out, and then I didn't like any of it. I liked it the way it was. I liked it. I thought the divisions was good. I just liked it that way. So, I mean, I'm not fired up about any of it, but obviously it doesn't make a difference what I think.
Are you a turkey or ham guy for Thanksgiving?
I'm a big ham guy. I will eat turkey, but I eat mainly all the sides. You get the sides that you get on Thanksgiving, you don't get any time during the year, or I don't, right? I mean, all that other stuff. Yeah, and then sweet potato casserole, green bean casserole. Do you do all that?
Yeah, but why don't we do that all year?
Well, I could get myself in trouble for what I was going to say, but I'm not going to say that. You want the truth? Why we don't do this? Because people don't cook at home anymore. None of us do, right? We're all moving. We work hours. We work late. You're traveling. People work till 6, 7 o'clock at night. Let's go by and grab something, go home and try to eat. I don't want to cook, and then nobody wants to clean up, right? That's the worst part, right? I mean, do you like unloading the dishwasher? It's miserable.
Better than washing dishes in the sink.
No, but putting them in, you're kind of okay with. But when they're dry and you got to take them out and put them where they're supposed to be, I just don't like it. So, and it's sad because of all the great sides we have. And we don't do it. People just move too fast, and we don't sit down and eat dinner and whatever, and it is what it is. So, all right, man, should be a fun week, men and women. Thank you all.